Yes, but do we want to?
Oh, you got a point. No, I've never used this computer. I was making sure it's working good.
It is working great. And we'll get started here in just a minute. I have started the recording, so my snarky remark has been recorded for everybody to hear. All right, well, whoops, go back to okay. Let me go back to my PowerPoint and we will get started. Want to welcome you this afternoon to our record book training and using Submittable. So if somebody can let me know if they can see my PowerPoint, that would be fantastic. Right.
See it now.
Okay, good deal. Okay. So let's go ahead and talk about our record books and our judging that will be coming up on July the 16th. So just to review the record book timeline, that this information was sent out to you on April the 29th. So the following individuals, Grant, Skylar, Shaniqua, Hillary, well, that Shaniqua needs to be changed to Lee. Wait. Now I can't remember how it was. If Lee was switching with Shaniqua or Shaniqua was switching with Lee. They know. So Hillary, Chanel, Julie, and Felicia are judging record books at the state level. And from my understanding, that will be taking place on August the 12th and 14th. So you will get more information from Jana probably in the next few weeks, and she'll be doing a training. So if you're on here and you just want to be on here for grins, you're more than welcome to, but you do not need to be if you're judging at the state level, because she'll do her own training. Just verifying those dates. It is, yes, August the 12th and the 14th. And those will be done virtually through Submittable. So some of the information I will be sharing today will be applicable, but she'll send her own links and so forth for you to access those state record books. Okay, so here we are today, June 23rd, to do our record book training. Just a reminder, June 25th, that is 2 days from now, your county participation forms are due to Carolyn. So that information is the form that you list the name of the child, their age division, and their category of the record book, so that we can do a double check that they are indeed in that age division and registered in 4-H via 4-H online. So make sure when you send that form, you just don't put a number of youth, but you actually list their names, because only one youth per age division per category is eligible to be judged at the district level. All right, and then registration is due from those 4-H youths that are submitting record books by June 27th on 4-H online. So this is a two-step process. First is 4-H online. There is no fee, but we do need them to register so we can do the verification. And then also that allows you to certify that they are eligible to participate at the district level. July 7th, all record books will need to be uploaded into Submittable. We will not accept any late books, so please don't email me, text me, beg me, send me money, or whatever you want to do. We will not accept record books after midnight on July 7th. So encourage your young people to get those record books in early. Because sometimes, we have technical issues and electricity issues and things like that. So get them uploaded before the deadline at midnight on July 7th. We will have our training on July the 16th. It'll be in person in Angelina County, Lufkin, at the extension office. Check-in is 8:30 and we'll start judging at 9. Our goal is to have all the score sheets sent back to the kids or to whomever uploads their book into Submittable, because it goes back to that email address, by July 21st, and the results published. That will give the kids 10 days that qualify for state to get their record books updated if they choose to do so, and get those, and they'll have to do the two-step process again for state for those senior kids, but that will be due July 31st by midnight. And I already have that letter from Janice, so when we send out the results from district, we'll also send out the letter to those kiddos that qualify to participate at the state level. All right, any questions on the timeline of due dates? Okay, well, let's go on and talk about record books briefly. So what is the purpose of record books? It primarily allows our young people to showcase their projects, to show where they've grown, what they've learned, and what they've done over their 4-H year. And so when they're reporting it in the record book, they are reporting their current 4-H year and the past 3 years. And so that's something that they need to sometimes summarize if they've been a young person that's been in 4-H for 10 years, like some of our senior members have, then they will need to summarize that information. It also allows them to learn the skill of record keeping, much like we do as adults and keep records for various reasons. This gives them that life skill so that hopefully they can use that later when they get older and get out of school and move on. And then lastly, it also provides those young people an opportunity to compete at the county, district, and state level. Let's look at the categories. There are 25 different categories that a 4-H member can enroll, or not enroll, but participate in the record books. And this, the majority of time, it ties in with their main project that they've been working on over the past year. And so all the titles are listed up here. About 2 years ago, some of those were tweaked a little bit. So if you see something up here that you don't recognize, it's probably something that was tweaked 2 years ago. But this last year, the only category that had an update was range science and agronomy. It was called plant and soils. And so they changed it just to range science and agronomy. All of these categories can be found in the family guide, and I will be sending that information out when I send out this recorded program tomorrow. And there is a full description of those categories. So I would encourage you as the county agent, when you're reviewing these record books, to ensure that they are truly in the correct category, because we do not want it to end up at district and it should have been in citizenship versus public speaking and so forth. So please take a look at those categories. You can also send that family guide to your families to make sure they are utilizing and selecting the correct category. So one of the most important forms that you'll use when you're judging record books is the summary form that has been created, and it's a quick glance. So at our record books based on age division. So if you're judging junior, intermediate, or senior books, this will give you that quick look as far as their requirements, their criteria with the minimum and maximum number of pages, and the number of projects that are covered and so forth. Some of them are the same across all three age divisions, but there are usually some varying differences when you get up into the senior level. For instance, if we look at the story, if you are a junior age child, you have a range of 2 to 8 pages to relate your story about your 4-H experience. And moving on, intermediates, it's 4 to 10, and then seniors have a minimum of 6 pages with a maximum of 10 pages. So some of these criteria change, and some of them do stay the same. So I will have this sheet available for you during record book judging, so you can have that quick glance at the criteria based on the age division. I have not divided up any categories or assigned any categories to anyone yet, because those are not due till the 27th. As of today, 28 kids have registered, and we have one book that has been uploaded. So please encourage your families, if they're planning on doing record books, to get that registration done. Again, that's by the 27th, and books are due by July 7th. So they need to get this information done so that we have something to judge. All right. So the record book is made up of 4 parts. The first is the check sheet. This is no longer required, and it's no longer required at the state level either, because we have primarily gone to a virtual setting and judging. And so this sheet, you may see it still in some record books, or some kids have gone ahead and taken those out, but it's just a single page that has the certification page on it, that has the child has signed off on it, I believe the parent, and then you as the county agent. So if they include it, fine. If not, that's not a big deal. The second part of the record book is their personal information form. This is required, and that is the form that provides the demographic information about the child, where they live in whether it's rural or urban or a combination of those. And also, that's where they list their category. So this is the place that we check to make sure that the category in which they registered is also the one that is listed on their record book. And then there's only 2 parts left, the 4-H story and the photo portfolio, and then the report forms. And we're going to look at those a little more in detail on the upcoming pages. And I did not tell y'all, but if you have questions as I'm going through this, please just unmute and ask. And I can't see my check box right now, my chat box, excuse me. So just unmute and I'll answer your question. All right, anything on this page before we move on? All right, so we do have some general guidelines for all record books, regardless of age division. Record books can still be handwritten. They do not have to be typed. Occasionally we will see some handwritten record books. So if a child does handwrite their record book, you just need to make sure that it's legible, that the judge will be able to actually read it, and that they're following the other guidelines that are provided as far as their grammar and punctuation, their text margins, and so forth. So handwriting is fine. To submit it and submittable, they'll have to scan it and then upload it and send it through that program. But the majority of our kids do type up their record books, which helps us in judging those. So, but handwriting is allowed. We do look at their grammar and punctuation, and you will, as you're judging, you will have the opportunity, if there's excessive grammar and punctuation, to make those notes and to deduct that from their scores. Their text margin should be 1.5 inches on the left and 1 inch on the top, bottom, and right-hand side. And those are the same margins if a child were to print out their record book and put it in the record book folder. So that's why it has those specific margins. We are not requiring the kids to bring a hard copy. Everything goes through submittable, but those are the guidelines that are still in effect for record books. So we expect them to follow those. And then as far as their font size, it cannot be smaller than a 10 point. And the recommended font is the Arial font because that seems to be one that is easier to read. So, all the fancy fonts and things like that, just leave that out. It's just kind of a plain Jane font. But, and I know I've seen it over the years too, where kids will to try to ensure that they have the minimum number of pages, they'll increase their fonts, or if they have more information than is allowed, then they'll decrease those. But the general guideline is that they should have a font no smaller than 10. There's not a max, but no smaller than 10. And then, of course, we want the kids to be creative in their record book, in particularly their story, so that when you get done reading that book, you have a good idea of what that child's project was about, their main projects and their activities in 4-H. All right, let's talk about the 4-H story and photo portfolio. So in this section, this is the narrative section of the record book, and it is put together more or less like an essay that they may do in school. So within this 4-H story, it starts with the title of their story, what their main project is about. Then they should be including, it doesn't mean they have to, but they should include information about themselves, their family, and their community. They should explain why and when they joined 4-H or how many years they've been in 4-H. So if a child has been in 4-H more than 4 years, this is a great time to be able to talk about that because their record book as a whole, the forms, should only reflect the current year and the past 3. So unless they're a junior, and then it's the last 2. But if they've, been in 4-H for 10 years and they want to talk about that during this section, then that's a good way to include that information. They should also be listing their project goals. What was their goal for their project this year, their main project? Were they, trying to make a sell? Were they trying to place in a particular contest? What were their goals? Were they trying to learn a skill? So those should be listed, and that's something that should be started at the beginning of the 4-H year. When they start with that project, they should set those goals, and that will help them to build this record book. And then within their story, they should talk about their citizenship, leadership, and what they've learned through participating in community service activities, and how 4-H has helped them to become a better person, a well-rounded person in the different areas of service. And then they can also talk about interest and if 4-H has impacted them anyway as far as setting future goals, or maybe by working in this project, it has helped them to determine, where they want to go to college or technical school, or what their plans are after high school. So any of these components are a plus that should be included within that 4-H story. And if you look at the summary, it'll tell you how many pages, as we talked about a moment ago, and that varies on the age divisions, and the pictures that are included. Now, as far as the pictures are concerned, they can incorporate those within their story, or they can have them at the end of their story. So either way is fine. As a judge, I prefer them within the story because that way, as you're reading along, you can see the picture, you can relate to it, and so forth. They are not required to have captions on their pictures, but if they want to put those on there, that's wonderful because sometimes you need to have that little bit of information so you understand what the photograph is about. All their photographs should be action photos. Taking a picture of the child standing there receiving an award is not really telling about their experience within the project. But seeing a picture of a child grooming their steer, well, that is an action item, and that would tell you more about their involvement in the project. Okay. Now let's talk about those report forms. So there's 7 report forms, and the same form is used for all age divisions, same content. It's going to be the current year and 3 preceding years. So 4 years maximum information within their report forms. The first form is the 4-H project experiences. So on this form, it's a narrative. This section is a narrative, so written in paragraphs. They can use bullets, they can use tables. This is where some of their creativity will show through and their formatting, how they lay it out for you to read as a judge. I always encourage kids to use bullets or use tables because after looking at several books, one judge looking at several books at a time, they start to run together. So making that record book look unique helps it to stand out in front of the judges. So in this section 1, they're going to talk about their up to 4 projects that they've been involved with. If they've only been involved in 3 projects or 2 projects, that is fine. But this is the place where they're going to talk about their 4 major or main projects that they've been involved with. They're going to talk about how they changed or grew within those project learning experiences. You know, what have they learned? That is so critical in the record book to explain what you learned. Just getting something or doing something is a great goal, but you know, what did you learn from that experience? And then also there's in this area they can talk about their learning experiences they gained in other youth and community organizations, but it should just be focused on their 4-H project at this time. So there will be a form, it's Form 6, I believe, that is where they're going to talk about everything they've done outside of 4-H. Maybe they've been involved in school projects or FFA and those type of projects. Well, that's where they're going to focus on that on form number 6. So everything in section 1, form 1 should be related to their 4-H project experiences. And you can also see the criteria up here on the screen as far as the number of pages that the maximum number they can include. Now, there's no minimum, but they need to have no more than the maximum based on their age division. All right, any questions on this section? All right, section 2 is where the child is going to talk about their 4-H leadership experiences. So this will be reported in a form. And in this information, they're going to list the year that leadership experience took place, what the activity was, their role, as far as whether they were functioning as a club officer, maybe on county council or a committee. So whatever their role, if they were a participant, and then at what level did that happen? Did that happen at the county level, the district, the state, national, international? So they'll have an opportunity to document that on this form. And then the most important criteria on this form is for them to talk about their responsibilities, their duties, and their accomplishments. What did they learn by participating in that leadership activity? And so they will list all those. We encourage them to list them from the most current year going back. And remember, they're supposed to only include information for this year, this 4-H year, and the preceding 3 4-H years. So if they want to talk about something that happened 5 or 6 years ago in 4-H, then that information should be relayed in their 4-H story. All right, section 3 is 4-H community service. And this is also a table, just like section 2 was. and they're going to list the same thing, the year the activity took place, their role, what the activity was specifically, and then what that impact was on them by participating or leading that community service project. So some examples of community service projects maybe they've been involved with, maybe they picked up trash or they cleaned up a cemetery, they made care packets for a nursing home, they did some work at a nutrition site, so forth. So there's lots of opportunities for those kids within the community. And this is where they're going to list what they've done. It's any type of service that supports, helps, or benefits an organization outside of 4-H. So if they list something like, for instance, they led the Pledge of Allegiance at a 4-H club meeting. Well, that took place within 4-H. That really goes in leadership, not community service. Community service is something outside of 4-H that they worked on to benefit somebody else or another organization. All right, section 4 is other 4-H projects. So if you've got a child that's focused on more than 4 projects that they listed in section 1, then this would be the page that they would utilize to list those other 4-H projects. And it could be, maybe they tried a project and they did it for 1 year and they said, that wasn't my cup of tea. But they want to talk about what they learned during that project experience, and this is their opportunity to showcase those other 4-H projects. This is anything that they did not list in section 1. So if they've already listed it in section 1, they're not going to duplicate it and put it in section 4. So this is just those other projects that maybe they've just experienced. All right, and this is limited to pages based on age division. So 1 page for juniors and a limit of 2 pages for intermediate and seniors. And this is written as a narrative. All right, section 5 is 4-H recognition and awards. And note, this is 4-H recognition and awards. So sometimes we'll see record books. Kids will list other honors that they've received in other youth organizations. And so, if they attended that the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo as a 4-H member and they received an award at that show, then this is where they would list that. Now, if they attended as an FFA member, then they would not list that here. So this is only reserved for 4-H recognition and awards. In section 6, that's where they can list any other recognition and awards they've received outside of 4-H. So this is listed also in a table format. They'll also list this by the most current year going backwards, and they'll list their level of participation, what the recognition was, and why was that recognition important to you? What did you learn from that experience? And so this is, again, the most important part is the impact. And so we want the kids to focus on the impact that it had, what they learned from that experience, or what they've gained from participating and receiving that award. All right, there is a limit on the number of entries. So if you're a junior, you can have up to 10 entries, which is no more than 1 page. Intermediate is 15 and 2 pages, and seniors can list up to 25 entries and 3 pages. All right, section 6. This is where everything else goes that doesn't fit in any of the other sections. And it's also a place where any non-4-H activities can be listed. So if you have a child that provided leadership in other youth organizations, or maybe through school, maybe their church group, community service, this is where they would list those activities. And so anything that's outside of 4-H would be included in section 6. And this is limited to 1 page, so they'll need to summarize that information. Again, this is in a narrative form, so they can list those as bullet points. and in a table or however they want to creatively showcase that information. So all their FFA information would go on this page. And I keep saying that because you would not believe how many record books I've looked at, and they've got FFA in the award in the um, recognition section, but it goes on this page for non-4-H activities. All right, and the last section is our college and career exploration, section 7. And so sometimes our junior kids are like, I don't know the answer to this, but they should be thinking about it even at 9 years old. You know, what do I want to do when I grow up? What do I want to be? And it, you know, we're not going to hold them to that information, but, you know, we want them to start thinking early so that they can have a plan in place when they get to be a senior age division youth and know what direction they're going to go in life. And so the question is asked at the very top of the record book, and sometimes that gets overlooked. So we want to make sure that that's pointed out. But they need to answer the question, as of today, what career would you choose? And it could be just a one-word statement. It could just be very short and concise, but they don't have to go into a lot of detail here because below they're going to list in a table format the activities that they have been participating in to help them to be successful in that career, to learn more about those opportunities, what education it's going to require outside of high school, what classes they need to take. And then they can also list, you know, if they've started down that road, because, you know, we may be talking about a senior age kid and they've already done the college tour, they've toured that technical school, or they've done some job shadowing, or maybe they even have a part-time job right now. And so they can list all of those opportunities that they've been involved with that's going to help them in their career exploration after high school. The criteria limits are a junior can enter up to 10 entries in one page. Intermediate is 15 entries in one page, and same with seniors, 15 entries and 2 pages. Okay, so those are the 7 forms as part of the record book in conjunction with the 4-H story and photo portfolio. Are there any questions on the record book before we move on to submittable? Okay, so here are the scorecards that will be used. These are the same that are used at state. These will be all in submittable. And so you'll have the same drop-down menus. If you've worked in submittable before, you'll pull those menus down. It'll give you the maximum amount of points that you can award the child in those particular sections. And so there will also be a comment section in which you can provide feedback. And we want to be sure and provide that constructive feedback to our youth because we want them to be able to grow from this experience. They don't need to know that the photos were great as far as, you know, that's your only comment. Great photos. Well, that doesn't tell them how they need to improve, what they need to do differently next year. If they're resubmitting their record book, you know, you need to focus on the strengths of their story and their areas in which they need to grow and share that information. So you'll be typing this information. So if you're like me, you can probably type faster than you can write. And so you will have that opportunity to provide that constructive feedback to those young people. So you'll do that on each of the sections, whether it's their story or each of the 7 sections of their report forms. And then that submittable will take those points that you've awarded them for each of those sections and add those up for you. So you won't have to do that. And you'll have that final score for that youth. So I will bring some blank score sheets because I know sometimes when you're judging, it's easier to take notes. And maybe you want to compare one record book to another record book and so forth. So You'll have these types of score sheets available for you to use for note-taking purposes. And then, but all of our comments and points will be awarded in submittable, which we're going to talk about next. Any questions on the score sheet? All right, so let's talk about submittable. This is a program that we're using to judge our record books in. So I've already gone in and checked to see if you have a submittable account. Submittable is used across the state for various 4-H projects and judging of those projects. And so what happens when we do not have a current project that's being judged or a contest going on, then those submittable accounts that you have previously set up are made inactive because we only have so many licenses available and each person is counted as a licensee. So I will go back in as soon as District 4 is done with their record books, which they will be done in the next, I believe, couple of weeks, and I will make those active. So I did go through and check to make sure everybody had a submittable account, and I have listed, there's 6 individuals that need to go in and set up that submittable account. I have you listed there. That's Amy Wally, Jay, Truman, Twana, Rebecca, and Jennifer. And when I send this program out, this link will be included. And so you can go click on the link and set up your submittable account. If you're using any other email address other than your 4-H, not your 4-H, your extension address that is used for AgriLife, then please let me know what that email address is because I will need to send you an invite. And that invite will be coming from Submittable. So it won't come from my email address. It'll come from Submittable telling you that you have been invited to join the Texas 4-H Submittable account. So you will need to accept that invitation. So you'll set it up. I'll send you the invite. As soon as you set it up, I can't send it to you till you set it up. As soon as it's set up, I can send you that invite and you will have to accept that invitation in order for your account to be ready to go. And so I'll ask that you please do this by July the 11th because our judging is on the 16th. And I will need to go in and assign each category and age division to every single person. And so if you haven't set that up, you will have a judging partner and your judging partner cannot get their record books and you can't get your record books until your account is set up. So please do this by July 11th. All right, so let's take a look at what you'll be getting and how you judge the record books using Submittable. I will send these instructions out to you also, the detailed instructions on Submittable, but this is what it looks like when you go into Submittable. You will click on the 4-H Youth Development link and you'll get your list of record books by the 6-digit record book ID number. And you can see some of those listed below, like the 358443. So each of those is a link to that particular record book that you will be judging. So you will click on, you can click on the link or you can click on each of those record books and it will pull those up so that you can start the judging process. So let's look at what that looks like when you click on the link. All right, so you will be taken to the Submittable dashboard. And this is exactly what it looks like in Submittable. You can see it's circled in yellow, the ID number that corresponds with the email that you received. And so what you'll do is you will click on that ID number. So it'll have the submitter's name. So you may have an adult's name there because, you know, when they're submitting this, they'll sometimes put their name in instead of their child's name. So you'll have to click on the actual link to open it to see what the child's name is. Now, some people do remember this and put their child's name, and that's very helpful. But I will also have a hard copy of all the books that you should have that should have been assigned to you. So you can check those off as you go and maybe match up last names to last names and so forth. But if you have a family that has more than one child that has entered a record book, you may see um, their name appear twice, but it's two different record books. So each record book gets its own ID number. And then it'll also tell you the category underneath. Like this one says animals domestic. So this is really a photography, look at the photography, but it'll say beef or range science or poultry, depending on what category they have registered their record book in. So you'll click on that link and that will take you to that particular record book. So when you click on the ID, it will come up and it'll show you the last name, first name of the child, the county in which they are enrolled in 4-H. It'll say District 5, and then it'll provide you the category of their record book that they're registered in. And then you'll get a little thumbnail. As I said, this is photography, but you'll get a little thumbnail at the bottom, like you see the dog right here in the blue bonnets, and it'll be the first page of their record book. So when you get ready to judge, if you look at the green arrow, it says click here to get to the judging form. So you're going to click on the word review up in the upper right-hand column, and that will take you to the score sheet. All right. So we'll look at that on the next screen, but I wanted to point out on this screen too, that there is when you get done reviewing, it's going to take you back to this main page and it's going to say complete review. So when you are completely done with that record book, you've put in all the scores for all the sections, and it won't let you go on without submitting a score. It won't let you go to complete review if you haven't put in your comments. But when you're ready to submit it, you're going to click on that little black box that says complete review, and it will mark that record book that it's been completed and it's been submitted for review. So make sure, do not click on that until you're 100% ready, because if I need to pull that back out of the system, all your comments will go away. You'll get a blank score sheet back. So whatever points you've awarded, any comments you made, those will disappear. So you can save this, and I'll show you that on the next screen. So if you want to just save it and go on to the next one and look at it, you can do that. But the main reason we don't want to hit complete review until everything is completely done, because if we have any ties, those ties will need to be broken. In particularly those ties for those senior age kids, because we can only advance one senior age child in each category to state. So I would not hit complete review until you and your judging partner have looked at every single record book and made sure that there's not a tie and those are ready to be submitted. Okay, so this is what the score sheet looks like. You'll have the picture of the record book on the left-hand side, not a picture of a cat. And you will have all the different sections that you're giving points to that will come up on the right-hand side. And as I said, these are all drop-down menus, so you'll pull them down and you will see 0, like on this one says composition 20-point maximum. So you'll see a range from 0 to 20 in which you will give points. Okay, so you'll give the points, you'll provide the constructive comments or tips for improvement in the comments section. And then you'll see on this page 2 at the bottom, save draft. So you want to save it, and that way you can go back into this if you need to break a tie with your judging partner, look at something again, maybe compare this record book to another record book and so forth. So hitting save right there will save all your comments and your scores before you hit submit. So I encourage you to use that. All right. So again, once you hit that submit button, you cannot go back and retrieve it, cannot be recalled. I can recall it out of the system, but it will come back to you as a blank scorecard. You'll have to start over on that scoring. So There is a section on this scorecard that says disqualified. So if for some reason you feel like this book should be disqualified, we do our best not to disqualify our books. But if we have a book that is entered in the wrong category, they did not meet the qualifications as a senior level book, as far as they didn't provide the minimum number of entries, minimum number of pages. That's all for discussion. And so I will be there at the Angelina office with you as you're doing this judging. So please, let's have that conversation and talk about that book. And before it's disqualified, in the event that, it really doesn't need to be disqualified, but once you hit disqualified and submit, then there's no calling that back from the system. All right. Any questions on the score sheet? Okay. So when you're ready to move to your next book, say you finish that book, you've saved it, and then you want to go back to the dashboard so you can see what book you need to do next, you click on next book, and that will take you right back right here at the very top where it says back to list. If you click on that, it'll take you right back to your dashboard and to your books. All right. So that's a good way so you can toggle back and forth in between books. And then if you want to go back to when you go back to that list view, you're going to see not only your dashboard, but it will show you, once you hit submit at the end, it'll show you those scores that you have awarded those youth in their record books. So that way you know if you're completely done or not, but everything will be listed there by the scores. All right, so after you're completely done, you've worked with your judging partner, and a couple of points to make in working with your team member is we want to ensure that these books are not skewed. So we don't want to, have one judge, they've awarded maybe a 50 and the other judge has awarded a 90. Well, that's a big skew on those scores. And you're going to have parents that are going to be asking, how can there be such a difference in the judges' opinions of my child's record books? And they will definitely ask those questions. So you want to get with your judging partner and, ask them when they're done with that record book, what did you score this record book? I scored them 86. And, work to try to keep those scores within 10 points of each other. That way there's not a lot of discrepancy and, difference between your score versus another person's, because that's probably the number one question we get back from contests is one person's opinion versus another's. And we know that it's all subjective, that everybody has their own opinion when looking at the anything in a contest setting and so forth. But talking through that with your judging partner, and sometimes you can iron out those discrepancies and make it a little more equitable between each of you as a judging team. All right. And so then you also need to make sure that you don't have any ties. And when everything is ready to go in your category, then you can go in and hit submit. And those will be submitted in the system. And then you'll need to come and let me know that those are done. And I can review those really quickly, make sure we don't have any ties, that we've got constructive criticism on all the record books. And then you will be free to go. So, but just don't leave without me checking those things, please, because I don't want to have to call you from the road to come back and finish judging something that you thought you had finished. Okay, so what our day looks like. So July 16th, this should have been on your calendars from over a year ago. It will be at the Angelina County office in Lufkin. So thank you to Carrie, Ryan, and Joel for hosting us. So we'll do a brief orientation at 8:30, check in at 8:30. There will be some light refreshments, coffee, bottled water. If you need something stronger than coffee and water, you need to bring it. And then we'll judge record books from 9 to noon. We'll take a lunch break from 12 to 1. Or if you get to a point in which you want to take a break and go eat lunch, then that's up to you. I'm going to let y'all judge how you're going to do your breaking up of your day. If you need to come back and finish judging record books, working with your partner, then you'll do that. So we anticipate to be done by 3 p.m. Of course, if it goes later, it goes later, but that's our goal for that day. And then, as I already said, once you submit your score sheets, those will be reviewed to ensure that you've given all the points. Then there's no ties in that category and that age division. All right. So what happens next? So those final placings will be released from the district office by the 21st. So our awards, first place will get a medal, second through fifth will get ribbons. The scorecards will be emailed to the address of the person who submitted the record book in submittable. It goes right back to them. And then we'll have those ribbons and medals that can be picked up at the district office at a later date, and you can give those to those young people in your counties. Please remember that senior record books are the only ones that can go on advance to state, and it's one per category. Okay, so that means there's 25 categories, so District 5 can send up to 25 books on to state, but those youth have to place first and score at least an 80% before they can advance to state. So if they score, they're the only one in their category and they score a 65, well, they placed first because they were the only ones in their category, but they did not score 80%. So therefore they cannot advance to state. So they have to meet both of those criteria. And then lastly, those books that qualify for state have to be uploaded into submittable, and they need to register on 4-H online by July 31st. And those individuals that qualify will get that letter sent to them to let them know what the steps are in participating in the state record book judging contest. All right, what you need to bring. You need to bring a laptop. Don't forget your computer charging cord. I do not have extra of those. Extension cords. If you have preferred items, not Tim's, preferred Tim's to write with, that's be interesting. Preferred items to write with or highlighters, however you take notes, however you want to document the information. I know some people like to write things down, and that's totally fine. You're welcome to do that. But you need to bring those items. I'll have standard pencils and pens, but if you've got something you want to take notes with on those record books, and that's up to you. There will not, let me say it third time, there will not be a hard copy. Everything is done on the computer. So if you're an individual that needs to have a hard copy, then you need to bring your own portable printer and paper if you want to print a hard copy out. Okay, so, and then some of us, like me, need reading glasses. So please don't leave those at home because you may need those too. All right, any questions on what you need to bring and where you need to be at 8:30 on July 16th?
Will we have access the day before? So maybe if we want to bring a hard copy, we can just print it the day before, or will we just have access that morning?
You'll have access that morning.
Okay.
So that's why I said bring a portable printer if you want to print it out.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Of course, you have my contact information if you've got questions. Are there any other questions that I can answer from anybody? All right, I'm not hearing any. Okay, I will send this recorded program out tomorrow because I know some were not able to join us today. I'll also send you the family guide. I highly encourage you to look over that so that on the day of judging, you can jump right in and start judging right away. You're not having to look back. I will also bring with me the day of judging the summary sheets and some blank scorecards if you would like to use those to take notes on. And we'll have some refreshments and so forth that you can have to snack on in the morning. So if you need something else, then bring it. And if there aren't any other questions, then oh, let me tell you one thing. So I will be on annual leave starting on June the 25th. So 2 days from now. I will be hopefully not dodging bombs in Europe, but I will be in Europe. So that is my plan as of right now. And I will be back in the office on July the 10th. So if you have any questions, submittable, you have difficulty getting a book uploaded, please reach out to Carolyn. She has the link, she has the information. All of you should have received, and if not, go back and look. It's an email from Carolyn. She sent out a reminder with the actual link that your young people need to click on so that they can register. If they just click on 4-H or submittable and go into 4-H, they're going to pull up any active accounts contests that are available and submittable right now. And right now, District 4 has theirs open. And I've already had one young person register and upload theirs into District 4. I cannot move those. Danita has to move those. So, and once they're uploaded, they can't resubmit that into another district. So please make sure that you are using the District 5 link that was sent out from Carolyn, so that those kids' books are uploaded in the correct district. Because if we get to record book judging in their District 4, there's nothing I can do about it. All right. Any other questions? All right. Well, I will see y'all on July 16th.